Hello and welcome back to the Game & Muscle YouTube channel, and welcome to this sponsored review video of the Spearhead Vrx gaming headphones. These headphones are USB headphones that you plug into your USB port, allowing you to have glorious sound from your computer as well as use of a onboard microphone, hence gaming headphones. They work well with games. Now these headphones have a couple of shiny fancy features as well as the usual headphone functionality. So in this review we're going to go through things as quickly as possible and hopefully get all the details in there without you dying of old age. Let's go! I have to say, they seem to be built pretty damn solid. There's no real obvious points on these headphones where they're gonna break. I mean, typically on headphones, the weak points are around where the arm or any flexible part, or where the arm of the I don't know what words do we use. I don't know what words we use, but the arm, the arm for the driver. Typically, this is where the weak point is. It is just a joint there that rotates a bit, so maybe that could be a problem over time. But other than that, everything else with these headphones is pretty damn rock solid. We've got a nice bit of flex for the ear cups. We've got the band up here that has a bit of elastication to it, allowing it to move up and down to form to your dome shape. And we've got this metallic bar on top, which is quite nice and thick, a good sort of mill of metal that gives it its overall structural rigidity and turgid nature. So, you know, the build quality, maybe it could be a little bit better, but it doesn't feel cheap and tacky. There's a little bit of weight to it. The general build quality is pretty nice and decent. It's worth saying as well, the actual volume control dial on the side of the headphones works nicely, feels nice and solid, as well as the microphone mute and activate switch that's on the headphones. And then you've got the cable port where you can unplug the USB cable to the headphones. Pretty standard jobby on that. You know, bog standard USB cable goes into it. There's nothing that stands out with the standard analog port or the USB port as being something that would maybe break over time. So build quality, I think, is pretty nice and solid. I think they've done a good job on them. Good build quality. I have to say, again, putting the headphones on the head, the actual headband part of the headphones is a really nice, has a really nice effect of you just being able to slap them on your head, and they do feel nice and comfortable when you stick them on initially. With the amount of side pressure on the ears being really nice, not too little so that they would fall off when moving your head, and not too much that you feel like your ears are completely clamped by some sort of alien face hugger, metallic alien face robot hugger squeezing your ears. Now, so that general aspect of it is certainly comfortable, but for me there is a real big downside with the comfort of these headphones. Though they've got a really nice, they've got this really nice sort of rubbery bit that allows this to move around to conform to your ear, and also this ability to tilt here to get it so that when you just slap it on your head, I mean, you could literally throw it on your head and it goes on nicely. That's fantastic. All those aspects of comfort are spot on. But for me, and this is definitely, I think this is probably a personal preference thing, the foam that they've got on is sort of a faux leather ear cup. And one of the things I found is with my ears, this can get a little bit sweaty, especially when I'm playing intense games of CSGO or I'm just listening to music for long periods of time. This gets sweaty and really is a bit of an issue. I also find, because these ear cups are relatively small, that my ears fit in them. I don't know if we've got Dumbo elephant ears or tiny mouse ears, I'm not sure, but my ears go into it, but I definitely feel there's a little bit of pressure on it. And when you combine that with the warmth that I get from this faux leather finish, they actually get a little bit sweaty for me, which unfortunately for me with these headphones kind of rules them out for my personal comfort. Now I know that varies from person to person. if you don't have an issue with that leather, faux leather finish, or your ears overheating like mine, then that won't be a problem. But for me, that is a problem with these headphones. We're saying though, the actual they've got this nice little finish with the left and right letters, so you know which ear to put them on. That finish is nice. Your ear might touch that, but you don't notice, because rather than going onto cold plastic, your ear touches this this sort of fabricy finish, which is quite a nice touch and does make it probably a little bit more comfortable for those of you with massive ears. Another aspect I found as well with the comfort is, personally, I much prefer open headphones, which have advantages and disadvantages. And the difference between open and closed headphones is open headphones, you see the back here, on open headphones this has little holes here which allows the driver to move in a different way, and it allows you to also hear what's going on in the room more. With these, they're closed headphones, so the result is you typically get better bass or deeper bass sound from the headphones, but you can't hear what's going on around you. And when I'm doing stuff like gaming or streaming, I like to be able to hear my own voice. I also like to feel the sort of ambience of the room through the headphones, which has a degree of, it affects the sound, but it also affects the comfort. So in this case, these are closed headphones, which again, personally, I'm not a big fan of. But again, those are subjective things that you probably want to try these out yourself and see if that bothers you, or if you've tried the leather finish on headphones before and you're happy with that, and you're happy with closed headphones, those things won't be a problem. Outside of that, with the comfort, obviously I don't have long hair to test the ease of sliding this on and off, and no risks of me ruining my shampooed curls. I'm really happy with how they sort of go on the head and how the rest of the comfort aspects of it works. It's kind of a mixed bag with these headphones. They do really good deep bass, and I think part of that is because the headphones are closed, as I say, so you get really good, just a really good rounded, very deep sub sound, that kind of standing outside of a nightclub bass, really deep bass that you typically wouldn't expect from headphones and more associate with large subwoofer units. It does that absolutely incredibly. Partly I think because it's closed, partly because I think of the levitating vibration drivers that these headphones have got on them. And you also have the ability to adjust and tune that deep bass using the vibrate feature on the headphones, which isn't really a vibrate feature. It's not like a vibration motor that artificially vibrates. It's basically just like a bass boost. So you can turn that up even higher. So you just get an absolutely phenomenal, very deep bass. I think if you like dubstep, if you like listening, watching movies and listening to movies with crazy cinematic bass, that kind of over the top explosion bass, then you'll really enjoy that from these headphones. Now, unfortunately, though it does the bass absolutely extraordinarily, I do feel that the mid-end or the mid-range of the sound from these headphones is a little bit lackluster. Now, you can tweak the actual headphones through its EQ, which I'll talk about a bit later. But even after all the fiddling with the EQ, even after messing around with my settings in Windows and other things, I still feel that the general mid-range output of the fundamental drivers in these headphones is just, it's a little bit off compared to other headphones that I've used. The very high range though, that's absolutely fine. It seems to have quite a nice, crisp, high range sound to it. It's just that sort of middle component of the sound. I don't know if it's been washed out by the bass. I've tried turning the bass down so it's not as prominent. That makes things a little bit better. But yeah, these headphones definitely go in the direction of exaggerated bass, in my opinion. And that seems to be what they're more comfortable with doing. Now, that might not be a problem for you if you're using this for action films and action games, and that's what you're really into. That might not be an issue. But for me personally, I much prefer a more rounded soundscape with the headphones. And yeah, I personally would sacrifice that really punchy bass for a little bit more of a rounded sound. But the sound quality, I would say spectacular bass, really spectacular bass, but the rest of the sound is kind of just above average is where I'd place it, based on my experience with other headphones, from ludicrously expensive headphones to sort of other mid-range headphones. On the gaming headphone side of things, the sound of these is pretty decent. Gaming headphones typically don't have very good sound quality compared to audiophile headphones, so on the gaming spectrum, pretty decent. On the audiophile spectrum, not that exciting. So kind of set your expectations with the sound quality, and keep in mind that these are more gaming headphones designed really to rattle your eardrums and keep the excitement levels high for those of you that want burst eardrums from the bass. Outside of the headphone drivers, you of course also have a microphone on these headsets. Now, it's easy to mistake the glowing rod as being the microphone. That is literally just a bit of plastic that lets you see the LED lights going through there. I really don't understand the point in this. It's there, it glows when you talk. You see it's flashing there, and you'll notice the rod only flashes when I talk, but the rest of the headphone glows in the colour that you set it to. And the microphone is located on the driver just here. I believe that's the actual microphone, and then we've got a detecting microphones on the back that pick up the ambient sound and do noise cancellation to make sure that when you're talking, it's capturing the audio from the mic rather than the environmental sounds. Let me do a little talk into the microphone so you can see what the microphone's sound quality is like. Okay, so I've got the headphone microphone on here, and you can hear that the sound quality from the mic unfortunately isn't very good. I mean, it works. You'd be able to talk to your teammates. They should be able to hear you. And I have noticed that when I did some recording with some other noise on in the room, for example, we've got an extraction fan in the top left-hand corner there. It does cancel out room noises and kind of isolate the voice, but it really does sound like a telephone conversation microphone. I certainly couldn't use this microphone for my live streaming or YouTube video recording. It just doesn't capture enough bass or have enough detail to it. Also, if you're particularly loud or your voice suddenly changes, occasionally you can get some popping on it and a little bit of crackling, which personally that's not acceptable to me. And it's a real shame that we don't have a high quality microphone on these headsets. It seems really common across all gaming headphones, to be honest. I don't know why. Why can't there be a gaming headphones with a high quality microphone at a reasonable price? I'm not sure why. It's not happened, and these headphones can continue the tradition. But it works. You can use it. People will be able to hear you. It's just not really up to a high enough quality level, in my opinion, relative to the rest of the quality of these VRX One More gaming headphones. These headphones come with a 3D tracking system, so that when you've got it on your head and you activate the 3D tracking through the software, which is an option on the software, you just go to head tracking. When you activate this, whenever you're listening to stuff and you move your head around, what it does is it sort of knows from the position of the headsets, and I believe it just uses an accelerometer or maybe a gyroscope to know that you've moved your head left, right, up or down, and then depending on where sounds are in the scene, typically if you're playing a game the sounds are mostly coming from generally in front of you, when you move your head those sounds also move with it, which gives it a reasonable sense of three-dimensionality to the scene and arguably gives a little bit more immersion. I think it's a nice feature to have, but personally I typically, when watching films and playing games, I've got my head locked straight solid forwards. I'm not moving my head around a lot, so I just ended up turning this off. I also noticed when you have the head tracking option turned on, it does kind of give a little bit of an artificiality to the overall soundscape. It kind of makes things feel a bit bit kind of processed echoey, a bit reverby. It definitely makes it feel audibly more spacious, but it's noticeably processed. It doesn't feel as natural as when you're just using the headphones with it turned off. Maybe I'm more sensitive to that because I've produced music in the past. I'm used to, I know exactly what artificial reverb sounds like. I know what to listen for. Maybe if you're someone that isn't familiar with that, or you just like that sort of big space sound, and you do move your head around, maybe you will enjoy that setting. But for me, I thought it was just a little bit gimmicky, and I just ended up turning it off, which is a shame because it's a nice feature and it does work. It does work. It's quite cool. It's nice. Just not something that I would keep on all the time. Also worth saying, if you're playing in VR, virtual reality, and you're moving around the room, because this is just using the static accelerometer, you do have to initially reset it to a forwards position. And of course with VR games, they are sending the information out from the headset, and they has the head positioning on the headset, and so you're effectively adding a artificial rotation on top of the VR game's audio, so it actually confuses things a little bit. So really interesting feature. It's really nice to have something like that potentially, but for me, just something I'd just turn off. The other features, of course, the vibrating drivers. As I say, it's essentially a bass boost. In the software, you can just control that, but you can also just push the volume button in. You click that and then move it up and down to change the strength of the bass boost, which is nice because you can then adjust the bass on the fly without having to go into any of the settings, or you don't push that in and you can just use the volume to move the volume up and down. Really nice feature actually on these headphones with the software as well is the EQ settings, and the fact that you can go into the EQ and really mess around with it, really get whatever you want with it, and then save it to the headphones and essentially forget about it once you've got it dialed in. Now the EQ is changing the EQ on the headphone side. It's built within the headphones essentially, and so it doesn't change anything on the Windows side. So you can mess with the EQ there and it's not affecting any of the actual game sound. So if you were, for example, recording the audio coming out of your game and that's going into something else, it will sound natural without any EQ on it, but you'll be able to hear on the headphones the EQ'd version of it. It'll also, with it being saved on the headphones, means it's there if you plug your headphones into someone else's thing, or you reinstall Windows or change anything, that EQ is then set on the headphones, which I think is really nice, and saves you potentially having to fiddle once you actually got the EQ dialed down to your very specific taste. Also, it does have preset EQ settings that you can click through with a reasonable range of different EQ settings. So if you don't want to fiddle about with it, you don't know what you're doing, you could just go through those and find one that suits you. I'm one of those people that will fiddle with EQ stuff forever. I get a weird sense of enjoyment out of that, and so it's nice to have those settings there, and it's nice for it to be very clear in the application, easy to adjust and instant to hear what's going on without having to do any weird stuff in Windows to change the profile of the audio. Lastly, and most importantly of course, is the light settings in the software. Obviously this is the most important feature of the headphones, because what's more important on gaming headphones than LED lights? And you can choose whatever colour you want here, which I think is really nice. I think all headphones should have the ability to choose what colour you want with them. Everything needs to be RGB. And it updates immediately. You just go through on the software and you can have whatever you want. It also changes the logo in the top corner. It's got multiple LEDs in this. You go for presets, and then you can also choose if you want it to be somewhat animated, so it's like fading on and off. All the it's the most important feature, as I say. I joke about it. I think it's silly, but glowing things are really cool. So it's silly but it's cool, and you can set it to what you want. Fundamentally, it just means you can have headphones at whatever colour you want them to be, and you can look like you're a street modded race car, but on your head. So top notch. It does actually complement the design of the headphones. They do look really quite sleek, I have to say. I think they've done a good job on the actual finish, the visual finish of the design. So long as you keep this rod tucked away and hidden. There's a tip for you guys. Always keep your rod tucked away and hidden. So there you go, this Spearhead Vrx USB gaming headphones by one more. I'd sort of place them as being slightly above mid-range on the scale of headphone enjoyment. Particularly good at doing very deep subwoofer type bass. These are the most deep and rich bassy headphones I've ever used, but then it does appear to be that that's at the sacrifice of the mid-level. Also, the microphone quality really does let these headphones down. Aside from my personal grievances to the faux leather padding, the actual comfort of them is fantastic, and the ability to slap them on your head is fantastic. I'd also say the software side of it, with being able to quickly adjust the EQ to whatever you want and have that saved on the headphones, is really good, and I'd love to see that from other gaming headphones on the market. Also, a really nice thing of them being USB and USB powered is that you just plug them into USB and you don't need to use a amplifier to get higher volume levels or separate digital audio converter. It's basically got the sound card built into the headphones, so that saves you getting other equipment that you would use with analog headphones. The headphones do of course come with a socket and an analog cable included in the box, allowing you to use it with your iPhone, your Android phone, your MP3 player, or just your standard analog socket. But really the sound quality suffers when you do that, and you're losing all the advantage of the USB and the additional software that comes with it. I mean, it's nice as an option, but these headphones are really plug into USB port, enjoy that USB, and just enjoy the simplicity and the plug and play nature without too much fiddling. So, well, there you go. I think we've pretty much covered all, if not most, of the key points of these headphones. I hope you found this useful. I hope you enjoyed this review of the headphones. As I say, it was sponsored, so thank you to One More for supporting the channel. If you want to help us out, check out their other products as well. I'll put a link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to us. If you enjoyed this, click the like button and make yourself a nice cup of tea. I'm going to have one right this minute, but no biscuits. We're not allowed biscuits at this point in time. It's an absolute disaster. But until the next one, guys, thanks for watching, and goodbye.